Morning. Gene? No?
Just for that, no.
Doug, just how have you seen the players sort of come together now that you guys are back? OTAs have or OTAs will start soon, but you're back in the offseason program. How have you seen the guys sort of respond?
The biggest thing is the number of guys that are here. I think that's a credit to them with the voluntary program. And I get it. There's workout bonuses and all that kind of stuff and contracts, but I think other than that, they want to be here. And that obviously the defensive guys, because new staff and everything, and learning, and then offensively, just keep the new guys going, and even with the guys we've been with now for going on 3 years, just keep them coming as well. So it's been good. Been a lot of energy, out there. Phase two, we're not competing, against each other, offense, defense, more so than just competing with yourself and to make yourself better.
How did the Jarvis Landry thing come together, and what do you want to see out of it today?
I just think it comes together because you just want to be able to put eyes on as many players as you can, and he's obviously played several years in this league, and been talented guy, and just see where he's at. He was out of ball, I believe, in 23, and 22 was kind of his last time. He's been hurt a little bit, so just kind of seeing where he is health wise, and just see where he's at. And it's nothing more than just coming in and a tryout type basis.
The evaluation for Jarvis and the veterans, is it different than the evaluation for the rookies? Not
necessarily. We understand, and with Jarvis, he's played a ton of football, right? And so we know that, and there maybe there's a different expectation, with a guy like Jarvis. But I think more than anything, just kind of seeing where he is physically, mentally. The rookies they don't know anything right now, so it's different. And, we're trying to get them, we won't get them caught up this weekend to where the vets are, but at the same time, this is a great opportunity for them to learn and really, show us how much they can retain in just a short period of time.
Kind of building off of that, knowing the releases day last week, how would you evaluate where the wide receiver room is, where you want it to be?
I think it's hard to say right now because Gabe is still working through an injury, so he's not really participating. He's out there and he's learning, so it's hard to tell. Christian's there. We don't have Brian yet, obviously. So it's really hard to put the pieces together, because phase two is about development and growth with the players more so than it is with the units, I think we'll have a better understanding going into OTAs and coming out of OTAs. We'll see how much Gabe can give us. I don't want to put him through something that's going to set him back either. But it's just hard right now because we don't have everybody kind of working at the same time.
Do you ask Brian? Is it an injury from last year for Gabe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ask Brian Thomas to just kind of follow along what Jarvis is doing in terms of that?
I think it is a really good learning experience for a guy like Brian. To come in here and see Jarvis, see how he handles these 2 days. Listen, this is geared more for rookies. These 2 days. I mean, Jarvis is a vet, and he kind of knows what it's like. So. I think it'll be good to kind of see how Jarvis handles himself, as a professional, and it'll really, I think, at least make an impression on Brian, this weekend.
What do you hope to see out of Mason Smith over the next few days?
I just think it's going to be a lot of individual, a lot of drill work, fundamentals, teaching, just the retention, just see what he can retain, just see his athleticism, see him move around. Again, there's no pass rush, no offense, defensive stuff, and it's just a matter of, I think taking what he's being taught in the classroom, obviously take it to the field, and then, no more than just watching him run around.
How is Ventrell Miller doing, or was there any thought of having him participate in this?
Actually, him, Christian Braswell, Cooper Hodges, because they're on IR, they get a pension credit, so they can't be a part of the rookie minicamp, which is kind of interesting. But but Ventrell's doing extremely well. Obviously, he's healthy, and he's moving around really well. He's he's competing and doing some really good things out there.
How surprised were you that a big guy like Steven didn't get drafted? I mean, were you?
Stephen Jones?
Yeah, I mean, were you guys pretty eager to jump into the whatever bidding war there might have been for his services?
Yeah, he was one of the guys we had talked about towards the end of the draft. Potentially drafting, and obviously we went a different direction, but we were happy to get him. To get a guy of his caliber here and get him working with our guys. So we're just excited to get him on the grass and watch him run around.
Were you a little surprised that somebody who was that productive in college and is that big, such a big human being, didn't even get drafted?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just the way it goes, and you can never really predict where a guy's going to end up, but we're just happy to have him and get in with the guys we have starting Monday, when the rookies can stay and be a part of this. So we're excited about that too.
Do you see him just specifically at tackle?
No. I think he'll start there, and then we can move him around, move him inside, different things. So the versatility that he can show, and it'll show us something this weekend too. Again, just
apply to Javon too.
yeah.
Hey, Doug, I think Brent Martin asked you a couple times about the play calling process and your evaluation of it and going forward. Where are you in that at this point? Is that something you're not going to deal with for a while?
I don't play a game till September, so got some time.
How does Lacey and Abdullah fit in this new scheme, in your opinion?
Lacey, obviously he's a D tackle. He's the type of guy that can give you some minutes. That new three technique. I should say new, but the Roy Robertson position and working inside right there. A guy like Yazir is more of your second long or third down pass rush guy. In the new scheme, it's a Sam linebacker. In that position. So if you're in a 3-4, he's an outside backer. If you're in a 4-3, he could be off the ball, but chances are he's going to be more in some pass rush situations.
So you almost have him and Devin in the same category, would you say, in terms of with this new scheme?
Yeah.
How quickly do you guys go?
Oh, is Cooper and Christian also doing well? Just you brought those guys up.
Cooper, and Christian. Yeah, they're doing really well. All three of those guys are really have done a great job. One with their rehab, but this offseason so far.
Have they been able to be on the grass at all so
Yeah.
far?
Yeah, all three of them have been able to work. Yep.
Yeah, with special teams being so dramatically different this year, the kickoff rules, when do you guys get into that? We get into it in OTAs. We get into it this weekend with the rookies.
We've started from phase one, with our special teams, introducing, the new scheme, the layout. We've worked it, even though we can't compete against each other in phase two, we're still, working through the alignments and assignments and all that. We'll work it we'll introduce it to the rookies this weekend, and then when we get to phase three, when we can kind of go against each other a little bit more, it'll give us a bigger or a brighter picture, I think, as to how it's going to unfold for us.
Doug, what are your hopes for Jones and Prince this weekend and the young corners on the roster? How do you see that shaping up?
Again, I want to be able to just watch them move around. It's one of the things I explained to them, last night is, some of the techniques and things might be a little different than what they learned in college, and to embrace that, because we're trying to make them better as football players and how they can help us. But, all three of those guys, talented guys, obviously guys we wanted here, give us depth at the position, and just kind of see, it's just hard. It's hard because, again, we're not doing one-on-ones, and we're not doing the 7-on-7s and all of that. This is a time just to see how much they can really understand the defense just on air, and we'll know more obviously when we get to training camp, when pads come on and their physicality and all that stuff. And but I'm excited to get them out there this morning and really this afternoon and watch them move, just watch their athleticism, see, and I think that's for us as coaches too. It kind of gives us a better picture as to how we can use them, defensively.
What kind of
opportunity are these next 2 days for undrafted free agents, just to make an impression?
Well, the undrafted guys, we got a lot of them, and we got a lot on our football team, and I was one of those guys, and so they're just going to come in and compete like anybody else, and don't worry about the number of guys in line as much as just getting better at your craft, and then when you get an opportunity, you make the most of your opportunity. So, we got a good group of undrafted guys, that we signed after the draft, and looking forward to getting them out there.
Along those lines, Cephas seems like a guy that people kind of point out in the undrafted free agent process. They were surprised he didn't get drafted. What's your early thought on him?
Another one that's very talented, and it'll be good for him to be able to watch a guy like Jarvis as well, and see how Jarvis handles himself this weekend, and just watch the detail of the routes, and again, how much we're going to put these guys mentally probably in more of a test them mentally more than anything this weekend than we are physically, and so for us too, it's about getting lined up, get out of the huddle, get lined up, where are we going, and then executing the play. So all of this stuff plays a big part into their development, their growth, and how best they can help us.
This weekend, basically, for the rookies drafted and undrafted, making sure they're sort of ready for next week?
Yeah. These 2 days will kind of prepare them for next week, because once they get in here, obviously they'll be, now they're with an NFL club. Right now we're just rookies, and so come Monday when everybody starts walking in here, and they start seeing all the guys, it makes an impact on them. And there are a lot of these guys, obviously they were starters in college, and now they're gonna have to take backup roles, and they're gonna compete for starting positions, or at least compete for that backup spot, and it changes just a little bit for them. So this weekend, though, from the meetings to the on-the-field stuff, is really going to prepare them for the next, 5 weeks, I guess, that we're here.
For what you've been able to see from talking with Ryan and his scheme, and for the guys that are returning on defense, which positions would you say would be the biggest challenge to adjusting to what Ryan wants to do?
All of them. I mean, it's just a different scheme, right? It's a different scheme, and you're switching gears a little bit from that 3-4 mode to kind of 4-down mode, and even though you spend so much time in 4-down defense a lot anyway, and I think some of the techniques are going to be a little different. Obviously, there's learning with the verbiage and terminology. Linebacker, the fits, and just the way, what I've seen so far, the way the coaches have coached them, and some of the drill work that they're doing on the field. Secondary, if you go back and watch, what Ryan's done in his past, it's a lot of shell defense to start, even though we'll play some single high stuff. It's, the corners are going to be in more, press alignment, but not necessarily press technique or press coverage, but press alignment. Still play man, mix those. So it's all different, and so every position is gonna, have to learn and grow with the system.
Okay, two of the things that you try to emphasize so much in this offseason was getting faster and getting more physical. When you look at all the acquisitions that you've made, free agency, draft, even undrafted free, in which of those two areas do you think you, I don't know, fulfilled more of those goals?
The physicality part of it, I kind of chuckle when people say be more physical. I mean, we play football. It's a physical sport, right? I mean, it's how we teach our players to maybe you can help them be more physical, just like you can help a quarterback be more accurate, right, with his throw. So it's a matter of just doing it, right? But I think, number one, we've gotten bigger, right, just physically bigger. right? With some of the draft picks and undrafted guys, and even some of our players coming back, we've gotten bigger. I think speed, we've gotten a tick faster. You know, obviously we know Brian's speed as a wide receiver, and some of the DBs now. I mean, we've gotten faster. And then when we put the pads on in July and August, we'll see where we are physically.
Did Bill Shuey, does he stay with Trayvon and Josh? Because he made it seemed like he made progress with those guys. Or is he a linebacker still?
He's a little bit of both. A little bit of both. You know, the way it's structured is Jeremy has the inside guys, the nose and the tackles, and Bill still works the edge. You know, but when you're in your base defense, you know, there's some transition there to those Sam backers, which are also kind of your outside edge rushers. So there's a little carryover there.
And that was the reason for keeping him when you cleaned out most of the defense. Was he had just done such a?
I mean, he did a great job with those guys, and then just, you know, that structure and what Ryan was looking for, and how to maximize, you know, the coaching on the field.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right. Let me do this. Let me get one drink of water, please. I'm studying. Yeah, exactly. But, well, good morning. Good morning. All right. How is everyone? Good. All right.
I guess we can start with this, Ethan.
Okay.
In terms of the 9 draft picks,
Mhm.
I know you spoke with Kai after a couple of those draft picks too. Was there one of the 9 in particular that you were directly involved with scouting, maybe identified early in the process that that's a guy that you came away from the draft saying, all right, we got our guy?
I guess not necessarily. I'd like to think I was kind of involved in most of them, you know, at least in the film review process. You know, obviously our area scouts are out on the road kind of doing the boots on the ground, digging through and finding guys. But, you know, I think Brian Thomas is obviously a guy that stood out right away, whether it's on tape, whether it's at the combine with how well he performed. That's certainly somebody that stands out, and you're like, wow, this is a guy you'd love to have on your team.
With how offenses are kind of becoming more versatile, how important was it to get a guy like Jeremy who's like inside, outside, just do multiple things?
I think it's extremely important. I think if you just look at the really kind of the numbers of corners and nickels drafted in recent years, it's kind of it's on the rise, right? Really everything that we do, we kind of have to see how it affects the run game, but really more so how it affects the passing game, because that's how you score points in this league. That's how you win in this league, is by throwing the football or defending the pass. And so a guy that can go inside out gives us more flexibility to, you know, as offenses move their slots and their big guys around, having that flexibility is key.
How much does the evaluation process help by having guys like Matt House and other college guys, and maybe know some of these guys from recruiting, just having those connections?
It's tremendous. Coach House and really all of the coaches and all of the scouts with the work they do, the better connection that you have at a school or with a certain position coach or coach, you can get the maybe not the company line. You get the real truth, right? And I think the closer we can get to that, the better. The hardest thing for us, I mean, I think everyone can see, you know, talent and speed and some of those things, but finding out what's at the core of a guy, how he practices, how he handles himself in the meetings, those kind of things are really key to what makes a good professional.
From a scouting perspective, how do you sort of value players that play multiple sports, maybe in high school? Like Ryan played basketball, for example.
Mm-hmm.
How much value do you place on that, and what does it mean, I guess, to the future of NFL players?
Well, I think it's we look at it quite a bit. One of the starting points we work at is like high school track times, high school basketball. You know, hey, when you talk to Brian and who offered him in playing basketball, that should show you what kind of athlete he is. So that is important. So we try and follow up how it translates to the NFL, I think is different in terms of the sport. But I think the big thing is kids that like to go out and compete and play sports and have fun and be with teammates and be with teammates of different, kind of different takes, right? Track's different than football. So I think that's all part of building a well-rounded person and player.
You said, when you were watching Brian Thomas run, you were kind of close down there,
Mhm.
and you came back and you were like, wow. Can you kind of run us through that
Sure.
experience
Well,
again?
I can start with how you guys see how the combine is set up, right? And each team has a suite that they can watch from. And our suite was, the exact diagonal corner from the start of the 40. So I couldn't even see really what was happening. So I kind of went down and sat by the starting line and just feeling, when you're that close, you can feel them get out of the blocks, and you see a guy that's 6'3", he's over 200 pounds, and really exploding out with not just speed but power, and you can feel that when you're that close, and maybe you can't further away. But that was really kind of my quick 1 second review of him in that instance.
Have you felt that or experienced that with any other player you've scouted before, or watched the 40 before, whether it was at a pro day or there, or is...
Sure, yeah. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. Like one of the first guys very early in my scouting career was Vernon Davis, who was right at a 4.40, but a heavier guy, obviously a tight end. But it's not just speed, but it was power with him. And quite frankly, you could feel the same with Evan Ingram. When he was coming out, when you watch all of the tight ends run and then you watch Evan Ingram run, there's a different feeling to it. So you can, I think you can get a good feel of a guy's, pure power and speed at that point.
What's your thought on the edge rush position behind Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker right now?
I think we've got some guys that are in the hunt, right? That are in the mix to make us better. I think we've added, we added Travis Gibson. We had some guys there. We have some guys that were on the practice squad previously, DJ Coleman types. Yasir Abdullah is playing the Sam spot, which is really kind of an edge rusher too at times. So it's what we want to do is see those guys fight it out and develop, because I think you really need to come up with 4 edge rushers. If you want to play at a Super Bowl level, and finding guys that can affect the quarterback in waves is really key to what we're trying to do.
Was there a part of Mason Smith's evaluation that stood out to you, whether it was something he did on film or at the combine or in a private workout, however it went?
Sure, I think there are a couple of things. The first one being is his tape as a freshman, as an 18-year-old freshman in the SEC, and how his physical traits really exploded off there. The sophomore year, obviously, he had the injury, and then he was kind of working back to health. So I think if you look at the very beginning of his tape, the very end of his college tape, and then the health and the performance at the private workout we held with him, I think you can see the progression of how he's kind of getting back to himself and getting back healthy. And I think I think the sky's the limit.
Did you foresee a world in which Matt House would get 3 of the LSU contingent to follow?
No, we didn't foresee that. It just kind of happened that way, which is great. But that's a place where they don't take many players that aren't high-level players. So I think we'd love to have as many LSU Tigers as we can.
What convinced you guys that Miles Cole can go from numbers guy to productive player?
I think he has numbers, right? And I think when it boils down, it's a height, weight, speed league. And I think as you get later in the draft, obviously not everyone is perfect. Everyone has a flaw. But what we see is a guy, I think, if you guys we'll see him out there shortly, but he's a great looking kid. He's got exceptional length. He can run, and he has improved at football at each step of the way. So hopefully he can spend some time here, refine his game, and help us out.
Is that a challenge, like for coaches, or even maybe get the most out of this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of those, it's a challenge with every player, I guess. But the later guys where it's like, hey, this guy has the raw DNA to do this, and now if you're a coach and you can turn him into it, I think that's a feather in your cap.
Overall, how much better do you guys feel about the roster now than you did when you started January?
I feel a lot better. I feel like we added players through free agency that fit us in terms of their just kind of their makeup, obviously their ability as well, but also their makeup in terms of coming from winning programs, right, that have played in big games late in the season, and having those guys here will help the rest of our team grow in that capacity. And then as you get in the what we were fortunate enough in free agency, through that we didn't pigeonhole ourselves in the draft in terms of having to take a specific position, right? So it was we were able to take the best player, or the player that we thought could help our team the most, rather than we have to have X position. So I think that's really good, and we feel good about the team. We feel that there'll be competition at almost every spot, and I don't glaring holes. That's probably in the eye of the beholder, but I think we have pretty good depth at most spots.
Ethan, along the lines that you were just mentioning about not getting pigeonholed in the draft, I think a lot of people are probably surprised that you waited until third round to take a cornerback. How much did signing Ronald Darby provide flexibility in that regard?
Well, it plays a lot of flexibility. He's a starting NFL corner, and he's a starting NFL corner from a good program, and he can still run. He's still a talented guy, and he's a pro in every aspect. So that having him means that we don't have to take a corner that has to start day one. It's certainly somebody that we can throw in the mix and make a competition, right, and whoever wins wins. But I don't think it's one of those where you're completely devoid of depth there.
So with both of the top two cornerbacks on the board, at least at 17, and you still had another one on the board at 23, do you kind of feel you might have gone in that direction if the Darby thing hadn't worked out?
I guess I don't know if I tie it specifically together, but yeah, I think we look at our depth chart and we see we have a guy there that can compete at an NFL level. So let's take the person that we think can help us the most as a team. So that was the decision.
What stood out to you about Jarian when he had his local pro day here?
Energy, personality. I think you'll see that when you guys get a chance to talk with him if you haven't yet. But he's infectious. He enjoyed being here. He enjoyed talking football. He enjoyed learning football. He enjoyed spending time with the coaches. And I think when our coaches spent time with him, asking a player to play inside and outside is more mentally tasking, right, than playing one spot. And I think they felt really good about him in that role. So he really impressed us while he was here.
Circle back in round 5 and take DeAndre Prince at corner. What did you like about him?
Very similar athletic profile. He's got length. He's got speed. So I think we took in this draft, I think we added 4 guys that are sub 4.4, two corners that can run. Again, it's a high weight speed league. If you're not the starting corner right away, you have a chance to make a big contribution on special teams if you can really run, and he can do that. He'll tackle. He's a competitive kid out there, so I think he'll do good things.
Ethan, I asked Doug about this, evaluating the wide receiver room. You guys brought in 5 undrafted free agent rookies at the wide receiver position.
Yep.
If you could explain the point of emphasis for bringing in 5 guys. Obviously, you want camp bodies, but
Right.
specifically that position, and then also the recruitment, or I guess the courtship of a local guy, David White.
Sure. So you're exactly right. When we go into the draft, we want to come out with enough receivers on our 90-man roster to practice, right? So we obviously have your Christian Kirks and your Gabe Davises that are in the mix to be starters. The young guys we really need are really look more so as developmental or have enough speed, skill to help really press the defense and improve them. So we needed numbers. It's kind of difficult sometimes to fill that many spots with capable players. But David White's a guy that we kind of, one of our scouts, Holden Maccabee, who's a young scout for us, really identified early in the fall and has kind of followed him through the process and maintained great communication with him in his camp and was able to get him drafted. He also came out here to the local day and did a great job. So he's a guy that we have high hopes for. We'll see how he adjusts to the
What
NFL
was it
game.
about him that you guys said he's a guy we want?
Size, speed, and athleticism. He's a long kid. He's got a really like a higher level body maybe than what he played, the level of football that he played at. So I think there's room to grow there, and he's got good ball skills. He can really route tree wise. He's pretty good. I think it's a pretty good find.
What do you see as the ceiling for a guy like were you surprised a guy like Stephen Jones was not drafted, and is he like one of these potential hidden gems that could?
Sure. Yeah, I think exactly. I think I was a little bit surprised. I thought I thought he would be certainly a late caliber draft pick for someone, and he was for us. You know, we would have considered taking him late, just kind of how the board shakes out is how it does. But yeah, he's a talented guy, and you know, a talented big man that you can get in college free agency. That's a huge get, because there just aren't enough big men, you know, around the league right now.
Remember the first conversation last year about protecting Trevor better?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, at what point did you guys decide that's going to be an off-season priority, maybe even the top priorities, to go and maybe upgrade the offensive line, upgrade receivers, and really build around your franchise guy?
Right. Well, I think, I think that's, from the second I got here, that's kind of the goal, right? I mean, we feel like we have a great quarterback in Trevor, and as the season progresses, the season ended, hey, where can we get better? Where do we need to shore up? And obviously protecting him is key, and keeping him upright and giving him the time to make his plays with his arm, make the receivers, allow them to make plays. So I think it's kind of like an ongoing process, I guess. But to, I think, again, you have to score points to win in this league, and the more we can shore up the offense, the better.
Was it alarming from a GM standpoint to see him hit as often as he was and injured as often as he was?
Don't want to see him injured at all. Don't want to see anybody injured, obviously, but that is concerning, and I think we've got to keep him upright and have to protect him, keep the bodies off of him, get the ball out of his hands. I think we're pretty good at that. But it's part of the maturation of him as a player, part of the maturation of us as a team, is to play clean football, and I think we're heading that direction.
And Foster starts at right tackle, swing tackle.
He'll start at both. He'll take reps at both. Obviously, we don't have a full complement of guys here today, so I imagine he'll take slides at both sides, and we'll see how that goes.
What's the challenge from a personnel standpoint with the new kickoff rules, and what are you looking for on both sides of that?
Well, first of all, just trying to guess what people are going to do. So that's kind of what we spend a lot of time with the special teams coaches. What do we think is going to happen? What are the schemes that you guys are looking at using? What do you think we're going to see? And just trying to figure that out. And I think the big thing is that you're going to need a second returner, and in our eyes, a second returner with speed. And so that way they can't just kick the ball away from us. So if we put two guys out there that can run, that's going to make us pretty dangerous. And then we'll see what the kickoff team's answer to that is. But I think it's all a little bit gray until, I think everybody in the league's going to be watching that Hall of Fame game and see what teams do. And the preseason will show a lot, I think, of how different teams look at it and how they plan to exploit it.
Beyond leg power and maybe accuracy numbers, what's important to you in evaluating a kicker, and what stood out about Cam?
And Cam, reliability, obviously accuracy, and obviously the ability to not just kick off, but kick off with some of the different kicks that may be required with the new rule. And so the other thing about him is, about Cam, I think when you guys meet him, you'll see him. He's a really, really young guy, but it's not too big for him. He's a confident kid. I think you'll find that when you speak with him, and a guy that can, inevitably you're going to miss a kick at some point in your NFL career, and do you have the resilience to bounce back from that and go out and hit the next one? And I think that's the biggest thing. We feel like we found that in Cam.
We got one more.
Going back to the offensive line, how do you feel overall about what you guys have done to sort of address that position group?
I feel pretty good about it. I think when you look out there, obviously we added Mitch Morse, who's been a high-level starter in this league. We added Ezra, a year ago or during the season, and I think he's to the point now where he's fully healthy, which wasn't maybe necessarily the case early. Brandon Scherf has been a good player here, and I think we have a kind of a unique tackle situation where you have, Anton, who as a rookie played very well. I think he played every snap, if not, almost every snap. And then with Cam and Walker Little, you have some versatility there. So I think a lot of teams in the league don't have two tackles they feel great about. We feel like we're pretty good at that position right now, and we'll let it sort itself out as to who's on the field.
I can just ask one more with the Cam question. I know Heath, apparently that was his guy when he went and visited with all three kickers. If you could kind of take us behind the curtain of when Heath came back. I've said to multiple people, I wish I was a fly on the wall for that dinner conversation between those two.
Yeah.
If you could kind of give us your perspective of Heath comes back from Arkansas visiting with Cam.
Yeah, so Heath every year kind of goes on his little junket around the country and works out all the kickers, and he really enjoyed that opportunity with him, and he was obviously everybody when you want questions answered, right? Hey, he's a young guy. How is he going to handle this? And he handled it greatly. Heath was really excited when he came back, and certainly a guy that we wanted and felt like he can do the job.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you guys.